இப்படி எல்லாரையும் காலி பண்ண வைக்கிறோமே, நம்ம வரலையே ஒருத்தவங்க. ஆமா, இதுக்கு நம்ம எல்லாரையும் காலி பண்ண வைக்காமலே இருந்திருக்கலாம்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஆமா, யாரும் இல்ல. சரி, பரவாயில்ல. Oh my God. Amen. Okay. So people will watch it online. I start. So today we are going to see editorials on which is Okay. So today's editorials are, so we're going to do 5. So first one is, recently there was a Supreme Court judgment on this woman military nursing officer. Her name is Selena John. So it was regarding gender discrimination in workplace. So this can be of relevance in your society paper, and also you can quote these kind of cases and verdicts not just in society paper, even in polity GS2, when Supreme Court phenomenal judgments with regards to women's rights, or with regard to social empowerment. When those kind of things are asked, you can write this, and you can also quote it in your essays. Okay, so one we'll be discussing about that judgment and why that kind of a judgment was there and all that. And second one is rights of single women. So this rights of single women is on their right to have biological child via surrogacy. Okay, so the surrogacy norms in India presently do not allow single unmarried women to have biological children. So so we will see why they should be allowed to have children and all that. So this will also have relevance with respect to your society. So two editorials with the theme of women. And next one is on, we have this scheme called Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So we are trying to promote mass housing. But right now, what we need in India is not just mass housing. Along with mass housing, we also need to take care of environmental concerns. So we will be looking at how Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana can be uh, how it can be tweaked, or how it can be modified or implemented in a better way so as to meet the environmental goals and people's housing goals. Okay, so both we will be looking at how to achieve that balance. And so this one is of relevance in your GS2 government schemes and initiatives. So in that area, they can ask you about specific schemes. And this one, so if you're asked, you can talk about it, since we will be discussing it here. And next one is, this editorial is on how Panchayati Raj institutions, the third tier of local governance, how they can be made effective. Okay, how they can be made more participatory and more meaningful grassroots institutions. And in that, the focus will be on. So this editorial, the focus is on how the finances of the Panchayati Raj institutions can be improved. So that is what this author is talking about. So Panchayati Raj itself is a topic for your GS2. So in that regard, this one will be helpful. And next is on, this was on the Supreme Court definition of forest. So recently, again, there was a verdict by Supreme Court saying that forest definition should be taken as per dictionary and not as per the amended FCA Act. Okay, amended FCA Act padi போகக்கூடாது, dictionary meaning தான் எடுக்கணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க. So we'll be talking about that, and the significance of this verdict, why this verdict was very much needed and all that. And yeah, and one another thing is, editorial is on this man and animal conflict. Frequently we are having man animal conflict because of deforestation, shrinking forest area and all that. So we will, this author has given his some suggestions, some of his own ideas, and the efforts being taken by the government. So these efforts you can actually quote as examples while writing an answer. So if you quote examples, it will fetch you more marks, so you can be using it. So this has relevance for your GS3 environment, ecology, biodiversity, that area. And the Forest Conservation Act, that you can relate it to issues related to development, issues related to government policy. So that Forest Conservation Act has relevance from GS2 and GS3 perspective. Okay. And yes, this one is about whether India should have regional benches of Supreme Court, a regional bench of Supreme Court. That is, it is a step towards enhancing access to justice, whether it should be there or not. So there are some points in favor of this, and there are some points again. So we'll be analyzing and seeing whether it's needed or not. Okay. So this is with respect to the, it's related to the judiciary topic in your GS2. Okay. So, okay, let's start now. Where is this? Yes. So first one, we'll look at regional benches of Supreme Court. So why this thing is presently in news is because there was a report, like there was a parliamentary standing committee, okay? A parliamentary standing committee on personal public grievances, law and justice, okay? So this parliamentary committee, recently they stated that the Ministry of Law, okay, the Ministry of Law has accepted their recommendation for allowing cassation. Cassation benches means, okay, has okay. This committee stated that the Ministry of Law has accepted their recommendation to allow for cassation benches. So I'll tell you what these cassation benches are. It means having regional benches of Supreme Court where you can appeal against the orders of the local courts. So local courts will give some orders. So now we are going to Supreme Court and appealing. Instead of that, these will act as court of appeals. These will be set up in 4 places. So now let's set panirpanga. The places are actually according to 18th Law Commission. It had suggested principal bench in Delhi, okay, and regional benches in Chennai, Hyderabad, okay, principal bench in Delhi and regional benches in Chennai or Hyderabad, then Mumbai, Kolkata, okay. So this was the suggestion given by 18th Law Commission. So on similar lines, even the Parliamentary Standing Committee had asked for regional benches like this, and this was accepted by the Ministry of Law. Okay, this was accepted by the Ministry of Law, but then what is stopping these these regional benches from coming into effect is that the Supreme Court has not been is not okay, so they are not giving the green signal for it. And Supreme Court can give green signal for this under Article 130. It is under Article 130 where Chief Justice of India, with approval of President, allows for regional benches. Okay. So under Article 130, the Chief Justice of India, with the approval of the President, allows for regional benches. So it can happen, but even though Law Ministry is allowing, the Supreme Court is not allowing. Supreme Court is not allowing means the Chief Justice of India is not facilitating it. Okay, this is the issue right now. And so looking at reasons as to why this is needed, you can say, so if you look at why regional benches, okay, so if you look at that, right now most cases being filed, okay, as of now most cases being filed in the Supreme Court are from high courts nearby. Okay, so most cases being filed in the Supreme Court are from high courts, that is the nearby high courts. Maybe let's say in the northern region high courts are giving some verdict, and again against that verdict there is appeal in the Supreme Court. So Andamarida, most of the cases are there. So we need to facilitate this because this will ensure access to justice. Okay, so you can also say geographic proximity for citizens. Okay, so more citizens can approach the apex court in the country. So if there are going to be regional benches, so either someone from northeast or someone from Tamil Nadu, someone from Kerala, for those people it will be very difficult to go to Delhi and appeal against the judgment of the lower court and all that. But if there are benches in Chennai, if there are benches in Hyderabad, Bombay, Kolkata, then access becomes easy. And you can say this also leads to citizens judicial activism. Okay, so this you can say. And also a courtroom. A courtroom is basically a physical environment. Okay, so it's a physical environment where judges act in an objective way. So in a courtroom atmosphere, judges will act in an objective way, and they will act without fear or favor. They will act in an objective way, and they will act without any fear or favor. So it will it tends to boost the quality of judgments. Okay, so this is from the side of the judges. Okay, so they can act without fear or favor, they can act in an objective way, and it will boost the quality of judgment. And apart from that, from the point of view of the litigant is the person who files the case in the court. So avanga point of view la irundhu paakumbodhu what actually happens is they also prefer to have their interact with their lawyers, whoever the lawyer is who's fighting the case for them. They prefer to interact with the lawyer. They also wish to see the court proceedings. Okay, so they want to interact with the lawyers and see the court proceedings. So for them also it is better if there is a physical setup. So judges matu illa, it is also for the litigant. Okay, and other thing is that, can I change this? Next benefit is that it leads to democratization of SC bar. When we say democratization of SC bar means it refers to the judge, the lawyers or the advocates who practice in SC. Okay, so who fight cases in SC in the Supreme Court. So presently those people are just concentrated in Delhi and the vicinity, in areas in that vicinity. But if there are going to be regional benches all across the country, or 4 bench vacha, it will give opportunities for lawyers from various part of the country. So it'll give career opportunities for them. So that you can say. Okay, so career opportunities for more advocates, that can be mentioned. And virtual hearings, like that one concept was there. Virtual hearings means this was started in the COVID time. So COVID time, Supreme Court introduced something called as virtual hearing. So then onwards it has been popular. So some people who are against this regional bench, they say that why have regional bench? People can access the Supreme Court itself through virtual hearings. But the problem is that for physical courtroom setting is important, that we saw how it is important for the judge, how it is important for the litigant, that we saw. So virtual hearings may be used in preliminary and admission hearings, but not in final hearings. Okay, so virtual hearings can be used in preliminary and admission hearings. So several hearings will be there in a case. So initial phases la vandu kuda virtual use pannalam, but final hearings la virtual is not advisable. So that point you can write. And you can also say, yeah, another thing is that SLP. SLP stands for special leave petition. Okay, appeal by special leave, like this. There's a constitutional provision which is allowed under Article 136. Okay, appeal by special. Okay, appeal by special leave. So it means Supreme Court to the Supreme Court, a citizen can appeal against judgment given by any court in the country except for the military courts. Okay, this we know. So Article 136 adna solludu. So based on this article, maximum number of cases which the Supreme Court gets is through this only. So 90% of the caseload of the Supreme Court is based on appeal by special leave. So every citizen, whatever be the judgment given in a district court or a high court or whatever, So two parties will be that. So verdict will be in favor of one party. The other party wants to appeal to the Supreme Court. So this is a burden for Supreme Court. So many appeals are there. So for that itself, we should have cassation benches. Cassation benches will actually take up all these appeals. Okay, cassation bench or the purpose is okay. So that you can mention. And so this is about the points which are points in favor of establishing the Supreme Court benches all across the country. And if you look at the points against, tribunals, yeah, against the tribunal verdict also you can go to Supreme Court. Tribunals வந்து actually judiciaryங்கிறது ஒரு separate wing. Tribunals வந்து it is established by the government and the legislature and executive. அவங்க ரெண்டு பேரும் சேர்ந்து to deliver justice they have a mechanism that is tribunals. Judiciaryங்கிறது totally independent. So it's like that. Okay. And one more thing you can also write in Supreme Court case pendency is 80,000. Okay. In Supreme Court case pendency is 80,000. So especially petition, a lot of petitions are being filed. So 80,000 is the case pendency in Supreme Court. So if this pendency has to go down, we need regional benches. So these things you can give in favor. And coming to what is the problem? Problem with regional benches. Okay, problem with regional benches. The problem is that one is that there is a fear of balkanization of Supreme Court. So right now Supreme Court is just one institution which is located in Delhi. So அது ஒரு supreme institution பார்க்கப்படுது. But அப்படி பிரிச்சு நாலு இடத்துல வச்சா there is a feeling that அதை fragment பண்ணி உடைச்சு வச்ச மாதிரி இருக்குங்கிற மாதிரி. That is a point of view like that. And also there is a fear of diverse viewpoints or judgments. So if it is one Supreme Court, all the judges sitting there, they're all working together, they're talking to their colleagues, and the kind of judgment, the nature of verdicts will be the same. Whereas if we have benches in Chennai, Bangalore, Kolkata, Mumbai, different geographies, different judges, they're not going to interact much with each other. So the kind of verdicts will again, vary. Lot of variation may be there. So that problem is there, and so this may actually erode people's trust in the judiciary. So people இப்போ என்ன நினைக்கிறாங்கன்னா Supreme Court is like they see it as a very they hold it in high esteem and they respect the verdict of that court. So இந்த மாதிரி பிரிச்சு வச்சா whether that trust will be there, it becomes a question mark. And then balkanization of Supreme Court, then diverse viewpoints and judgments, that is one. And obviously you can say because virtual hearings. So virtual hearings are there. So what is the need for regional benches? That question arises, that you can mention. And also there is a need for finances, infrastructure, these kind of things. So there is a need for funding and all that. So when we establish it, it has to be with proper quality and those kind of things. So this is the problem with it. And going ahead, and if you have to give a conclusion, you can say. So you can say way forward. If you go for way forward, you can say France, US. Okay, so they have this cassation courts. They have this model. So it means cassation courts are basically courts of appeal. That's all. Courts of appeal. And Delhi, so there is this principal bench, right? Principal SC bench. So that can look into constitutional matters. So the Supreme Court in Delhi can look into constitutional matters and other matters of appeal against the judgment of district court or subordinate courts or high courts. that can be taken off by cassation courts. And this system is also there in US and France. And this was also the same as recommended by the 18th Law Commission. Okay, 18th Law Commission adha recommend pannanga. So that is one. And next, All India Judicial Service. So All India Judicial Service means there will be a transparent and uniform system for the recruitment of judges. So அது ஒரு clean system இருக்கும், and what to say, that will help to plug the judicial vacancy. One of the problems or the reason for pendency is large amount of judicial vacancy which is there. So All India Judicial Service and the vacancies வந்து cut down ஆயிடும். So that you can mention. And next is improving efficiency of courts. Improving efficiency of courts. Okay, so like digital records maintenance, national judicial data grid, okay, e-court system. இந்த மாதிரிலாம் யூஸ் பண்ணி paperless systems யூஸ் பண்ணலாம். Easier cases manage பண்ணலாம். You can track the cases, see the case history and those kind of things. So that will come in the improving efficiency of courts. And then what else? These are the things, and these are the suggestions, and anything else. Yeah, that's all. Okay, and one another thing, I think I mentioned to you about Article 131, not 131, 130, 130, 136 also mentioned. And Article 39A, did I mention that also you can use? That is access to justice for citizens. We mentioned about access to justice for citizens. So adu vandu Article 39A. Okay, so where it is a part of the DPSP where state has to ensure that citizens should have access to justice. So adu vandu Article 39A. And so that is about it. And so that is this is with respect to the editorial on whether regional Supreme Court benches should be there. And if you have to note down a question in this regard, you can just write comment on the feasibility of regional cassation benches. And how effective will it be in enhancing access to justice for all? Okay, comment on the feasibility of the regional cassation benches and how effective will it be in enhancing access to justice for all. Okay, so based on this, you can collect various points from what we've discussed and you'll be able to write this answer. So that is about it. And next one. So first editorial was on this. Next editorial will be on wait. Yeah, second one is on discrimination of women. Okay, so next theme is okay. So discrimination of women based on their marital status. So two things we are going to see. One is where is in your surrogacy. Okay. So in surrogacy, the unmarried single women are not allowed to have this surrogacy right. That is one. And the other one is in the recent verdict. Selina John versus Union of India case. Okay. So that is right to work. Okay, so we'll be exploring these two. Yeah, can I? So first we'll see the Selina John case. So Selina John, so this person, she was a military nursing officer, and she was a permanent commission officer in the military. Okay, so she was a permanent commission officer in the military. That means she has a long tenure. Okay, so military nursing la irundanga. But what happened was, when she got married, she was removed from some service. She was terminated from service on the grounds of marriage, and this happened back in 1988. Okay, this happened back then, but Supreme Court now. Okay, so it happened back then, and obviously she was fighting the case in the court and all that. So already itself, on Lucknow Armed Forces, a tribunal, they had given a verdict in 2016, and against that, the government of India had appealed, to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has given the verdict now. So Supreme Court has said that this person, Selena John, has to pay paid compensation. Has to be paid compensation of rupees 60 lakh. So they've asked to pay compensation of 60 lakh. So these rules, prior to 1995, there were rules that a woman can be terminated from service on the grounds of marriage. But after that, the rules were changed. Supreme Court has given a judgment with retrospective effect, and the government, so compensation, union government or the central government has to be paying. Okay, so what the Supreme Court has said is that removing a woman from work on the basis of marriage is unconstitutional. Okay, so they've used terms like, so on the grounds of marriage, when you remove a person from work, it is unconstitutional. It amounts to gender discrimination, violates equality. Okay, so and it reinforces patriarchal mindset. So these were the remarks made by Supreme Court, and it is believed that this verdict will be a game changer, not just in this case, but in many cases, women are, they face discrimination in employment based on marriage, or not just in government, even in private, everywhere where women work, they face issues after they get married. And in job interviews, they are even asked very personal questions like when is your marriage, what about motherhood, how much leave will you take, and these kind of private life, personal life questions they have to face when they go for job interviews. So it puts them in a very uncomfortable and a tough spot. So this kind of discrimination, it is actually deterring their participation in the labor force. So if you look at the PLFS data, okay, it says that only 19.9% was the women labor force participation for the period from October to December 2023. Okay, so PLFS data shows that because of these kind of scenarios that the women face, because of these kind of issues that career, marriage, childbearing, these kind of responsibilities that women face, because of that, the participation in labor force is very, very less. Okay, so in the Mari scenario level, it is very important. This judgment can be a big game changer. So that you mentioned, and also other issues are girls are dropping out from school because of lack of toilets. This has been noted. Okay, so right from school itself, girls are facing issues. For proper toilets, they're not able to pursue education. So education pursue ஆகலனா அதுக்கப்புறம் career build ஆகாது. Mostly அதுக்கப்புறம் they'll get confined to homes. Domestic jobs எல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு அந்த மாதிரியே இருந்துருவாங்க. And also there was a report called as UN Gender Okay, there was a report called as UN Gender Snapshot Report. This report says that if appropriate steps are not taken, then women will be spending maximum time on housework, okay, and they will be staying away from leadership roles. So this has been highlighted by UN Gender snapshot report. So you can code this report while writing. Okay, so steps proper eduklana, they'll be confined to housework and they'll be staying away from leadership roles, like that it has been given. And also it is being stated that for government schemes related to women and girl children to be successful. So government is having many schemes like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, so many schemes are there. Sukanya Samriddhi, and the many various women related schemes are there. So if these schemes have to have proper success or successful and the schemes வந்து வெளியே வரணும் ஒரு proper result கொடுக்கணும் அப்படின்னா that will change only when everywhere the patriarchal mindset changes. So government scheme successful ஆகணும்னா the socio-cultural norms in the society should also change. Only then government schemes will give result. Okay, so government alone cannot fight. Society should also take step along with the government, and socio-cultural norms have to change, behavioral changes have to come about, like that you mentioned. Okay, and you can also say this will help to facilitate SDG 4, SDG 5, I think. Poverty, zero hunger, health, education. Yeah, SDG 5. Okay, this will facilitate SDG 5, that is gender justice, equal rights for women, and all that. So you can use terms like gender justice. So these kind of keywords you can use. Okay. So this is with respect to the Selina John case, okay, with the woman nursing officer. And next one is this one is related to Surrogacy Act 2021. So this author has given her perspective, so we are just going to look at that. Okay, so if at all you're asked to in the exam, if they say critically analyze the surrogacy, the provisions of this act, when they say critically analyze, you should give the positives and the negatives. But she has put forward the concerns alone. So because this author has spoken about the concerns, and single women rights இல்லங்கிறது பத்தி மட்டும் பேசியிருக்காங்க, so we are talking only about that. But this was actually brought in with a motive of putting an end to so government wanted to put an end to commercial surrogacy because India was becoming the surrogacy capital of the world. So India was the world surrogacy capital because in our country it was being allowed. There were no laws against commercial surrogacy, and it was very, very affordable also. So it was this industry was actually very much there, and government felt that the women, the surrogate women, they were not having proper rights. So whoever the couples, whoever intended to have children, they use the surrogate moms. But and the child வந்து ஒழுங்கா இல்லைன்னா they abandon the child, and they do not focus properly on the health care of the surrogate mother and all that. So இதெல்லாம் நடந்ததுனால government wanted to put an end to this commercial surrogacy because a lot of foreign people were coming in and they were exploiting the Indian women. That was what the government felt. So they wanted to promote what was called as altruistic surrogacy. Altruistic surrogacy, where the woman has to be genetically related. The surrogate woman has to be genetically related to the intending couple. Intending couple is the couple who is wanting to have a child. Okay. So that surrogate mother should be genetically related to the intending couple. So on the மாதிரி ஒரு system கொண்டு வந்தாங்க. And in this, as per these rules, single woman men okay, so single women, men, same-sex partners, they were not allowed. So they were not allowed to have biological child through surrogacy. It was allowed for women who were, it was allowed for couples who were married. So a man and woman married for, they had to be married for 5 years. So 5 years marry they should have a certificate for it, and child illangiradhukku to prove that they had to give a certificate. Okay, so abdi kuduthadan they will be allowed to opt for surrogacy method. And other one is also divorced women were allowed, widowed women also were allowed. So couples can have, divorced women can have, widowed women can have. Okay, so what kind of surrogacy they can have means altruistic surrogacy. That means they will just take care of the medical expenses of that person, whoever is the surrogate mother, and that insurance coverage will be there. Apart from that, no other no other monetary benefits will be there. But this author, she says that this kind of altruistic surrogacy, it reinforces the patriarchal mindset of not monetizing or valuing women's work. So a woman is carrying the child, a child in her womb, but when you're refusing to pay for it, okay, and promoting altruistic surrogacy, it is reinforcing. So அவங்க செய்யறதுக்கு வந்து நீங்க வேலை காசு கொடுக்கல அப்படிங்கறத வந்து this author has pointed out. And also she sees it as something which can be commercial. அவங்களோட point of view it can also be commercial. Altruistic மட்டும் இல்ல, commercial also can be allowed. So என்ன சொல்றது, அவங்க என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா, women வந்து people may not even be able to find relatives who are willing to carry a child. So relatives-ல கிடைச்சாதானே அவங்களால கேரி பண்ண முடியும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி this author has put forward her viewpoint. So அவங்க சொல்றாங்க this is a patriarchal mindset. அதனாலதான் அவங்களுக்கு அதுக்கு காசு கொடுக்க கூடாதுன்னு சொல்றோம். This mindset is wrong, like that she has pointed out. Okay, and also she says that single women, they are stigmatized and they are stereotyped as immature, self-centered, and have it all attitude. So society-ல வந்து single woman-ங்கிறத வந்து ஒரு stigma. People keep asking women about marriage அப்படின்னு சொல்லி this author has criticized. Okay, and society always asks the question that who is the father? So that question is always asked. So அப்படி ஒரு question இருக்கவே கூடாது. ஒரு child should have a parent. Who is the father-ங்கிற question வந்து வரவே கூடாது. In society this question is always there, like that the author is pointing out. And so she's saying this is a stereotype and this stereotype has to be broken. Okay, and she is also saying that single women, they should be allowed the right to family. They should be allowed the right to motherhood. Okay, they should be allowed the right to have a family, right to have motherhood. Okay, so ரெண்டுமே allow பண்ணனும் அப்படினு வந்து இந்த author சொல்றாங்க. And instead of who is the father, the question should be who is the parent. The question should not be who is the father, but who is the parent அப்படிங்கிறது தான் question இருக்கணும். So father இருக்கலாம், mother இருக்கலாம், all are equal. So it should not be about who is the father. It should be only about parenting. The concern should only be about parenting and not about who is the father and those kind of identities. So இவங்க வந்து இதெல்லாம் சொல்றாங்க. And also she has spoken about can I change this? She has spoken about this Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. Medical termination of act. So this allows abortions up to 24 weeks. Okay, but this act allowed it only for married women. Okay, so government parliament pass பண்ண இந்த actல வந்து only married women were allowed. But here Supreme Court said safe abortions should be available for all women. Okay, so safe abortions should be a right of all women. So married any woman can get pregnant and she has the right to safe abortion was remarked by the Supreme Court. So this author is quoting this. So in the Mari or safe abortion the Supreme Court vali kuduthirukku. So like that, they should also allow for a biological child via surrogacy. Like that, this author is saying. Okay, so Supreme Court in this case, they allowed for gender justice. So on the Mari, abortion allow pananglo. Likewise in surrogacy also, they have to allow. Okay, so this is about it. And yeah, and one data you can note in this, according to Census 2011, there are 71 million single women in India. Census 2011 says that there are 71 million single women in India. So you can use this data anywhere. Okay, when you're talking about surrogacy, when you're talking about abortion, okay. So women pati enga pesnano, you can be mentioning this. Okay. And you can also mention this while talking about inclusive policy making. Inclusive policy making. Use that, you can use that as a keyword. Inclusive growth, inclusive development, inclusive policy making. Where we have to include single women and these live-in partners and same-sex couples and all of them. Fine. So a question regarding this. One question is throw light on the mains question. Okay, throw light on the stigma and stereotype associated with single women in India. Throw light on the stigma and stereotypes associated with single women in India. And second part of the question, should they be allowed to use assisted reproductive technology, ART, assisted reproductive technology for having biological children? Okay, so that is the first one. And the other one, other question was related to that Selena Jones case. Supreme Court directive on the female nursing officer gives impetus, IMPETUS, gives impetus. Supreme Court directive on the female nursing officer gives impetus to the employees across the nation to respect married women's right to work. Comment. Yeah. So these are the questions. You can connect with the editorials and try answering them. And next editorial is on housing. Okay, so this one is on housing for all. So this you can correlate with your developmental issues topic in GS2. So here you can talk about this under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana since 2015. Under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, 3 crore houses have been built. And under the PM, under the urban one, 80 lakh have been built. 80 lakh houses have been built. Okay. And in the present budget, in the interim budget, Finance Minister said that there's a target for 2 crore more houses in the next 5 years. In the next 5 years, 2 crore more houses will be built. Like that, the Finance Minister has said. And she has also spoken about a new housing scheme for middle class. Okay, so by all of this, what we are trying to do is we are trying to promote mass housing. So we are promoting right to life, liberty, dignity. So all this you can relate to Article 21. Yes. And PMAY, you can also relate it to social justice because a lot of people from vulnerable sections of the populations are benefiting from the government allocations for this scheme. Okay, they're having a pakka house, proper roof, with toilet, with cylinder connection. So all this is coming. So this is obviously improving their quality of life. And you can also use the term ease of living. It is promoting ease of living for those people. Yeah. So this is the scenario. But this author says that just this mass housing and building house for all, that's not enough. She's saying with climate change and all that, this thermal distress is increasing, is rising. So she is saying need for cooling equipment. Okay, cooling equipment. And she's also saying electricity consumption. So all this will rise like that, this author is saying. And she's saying the problem with this that this can lead to enhanced greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, so just promoting mass housing is not enough. This author is saying along with mass housing, we should also promote sustainable and resilient housing. So just mass housing is not enough. We should also promote sustainable and resilient housing. And in this regard, we have this under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, urban, we have India is taking part in this global housing technology challenge. And under that, we are implementing light house projects. So lighthouse projects means these houses actually use innovative construction techniques. Innovative construction techniques, building material. Okay, innovative construction techniques and building materials. So their aim is to make the houses durable, sustainable, climate resilient, and quick to build. Okay, so under this, India is facilitating projects in 6 cities. So in the lighthouse project, some innovative construction techniques will be identified and they will be implemented. Okay, so the approach successful, it can be scaled across the nation. So that is the objective. And under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, we are having that component. And what is this? Also under PMAY, we have ASHA. Under PMAY, we have this Global Lighthouse Technology Challenge and also ASHA. That is nothing but affordable, sustainable housing accelerators. So this is like an incubator. நம்ம சொல்லுவோம்ல, some innovation is coming means incubator facility will be provided. So அதுக்கு வந்து சில research தேவைப்படும், funding தேவைப்படும், all that will be done. So in colleges we should promote like that. அப்படின்ட்டு நம்ம R&D in R&D promotion we have studied. Same thing in housing also, to facilitate R&D and innovation in housing, this ASHA is being facilitated. So accelerators are like, they're just incubators which will identify certain prototypes, certain innovative technologies, and so that will be studied, and it will be scaled across and implemented across the country. Okay, so you can say under PMAY these kind of things are being facilitated. And this author also says there is a need for buildings to adhere to okay, so here so the country under Eco-Nivas Samhita, it is divided into 5 climate zones. Okay, 5 types of climate zone: hot, hot and humid, dry, cold, and the many or 5 zones are. So in different zones, we have different types of building codes. Okay, so this we call as passive design. Passive design, passive cooling also you can say. So without using active equipments like fans or air coolers or air conditioners, through design itself, we will do the cooling, that is proper ventilation and all that will be done. So that we call as passive cooling for thermal comfort. So அதாவது ஒரு அஞ்சு இடத்துல வந்து this Eco-Nivas Samhita, so அஞ்சு types of climatic regions வந்து they have different type of codes given. So this author is saying in the Awas Yojana houses they have to implement this like that author has said. And other things in this regard you can say ECBC. ECBC stands for Energy Conservation Building Code. Okay, Energy Conservation Building Code. So this has to be followed, and this is actually given by BEEE. BEEE is Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Bureau of Energy Efficiency has given the Energy Conservation Building Code. And this Eco-Nivas Samhita is only for residential homes. Okay. This is for everything. Ella buildings. Eco-Nivas Samhita is for residential units. So in the author so while mentioning all this, she is also saying that the people who are allocated houses under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, they are all people from poor a strata of the society. So they will not actually have money to buy energy efficient devices. Energy efficient devices now, the 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, those kind of air conditioners, fans, ellame nama paakrom. So when you go for 5-star appliances and all, the price is a bit higher. So they are all people who are already poor. So they will not afford to, they cannot afford to buy those kind of things. So namma dhaan design le we have to incorporate passive cooling strategies for thermal comfort, like that she has mentioned. So what are the things that are available in our country to facilitate this is Eco-Nivas Samhita, Energy Conservation Building Code, and also there is this lead is leadership in energy and environmental design. Leadership in energy and environmental design. So this lead and this Terry Griha, so all this aim to promote So they aim to promote green buildings. Okay. Terry Griha, this is a green building rating system designed in India. TERI stands for the Energy and Resources Institute. Okay, it is a think tank and research organization. It's a non-governmental organization. So they have developed this Griha. Okay, it's a green building rating system, and this LEED is the globally recognized green building rating system. Leadership in energy and environmental design. So India, we are following it. It is a global standard system where we rate buildings as silver, gold, platinum. So that is based on their standards that they have. So silver na lower standard, gold na middle, platinum is the highest. And the money rating for buildings they do. And also this, so these are the steps. And this author has also spoken about, she has given one smart best practice. So this is a best practice. Okay, in Rajkot, Gujarat, there is a best practice implemented, which is called as Smart Gut Project 3. So basically, it is a slum. Okay, it is a slum redevelopment project. So இதுல அவங்க என்ன யூஸ் பண்றாங்கன்னா in construction techniques they're using okay, so they're using blocks instead of bricks, and these blocks are also being built with air cavities. So because they are made with air cavities, insulation property இருக்கும். Okay, so like how in flask and all we have air cavity. Okay, so ரெண்டு blocks க்கு நடுவுல air cavity will be facilitated. So that will allow for insulation. So heat cold உள்ள வராம இருக்க. Okay, so that they're doing. And reflective roofs by China. So reflective roof now, from the rooftop itself, most of the solar energy will be reflected back. And they're using thermal insulation blocks. This is being used instead of brick. Red brick ku badla thermal insulation block. Then they're using reflective roofs, and they're using casing windows instead of sliding. In sliding window, when you try to open it, only half window you can open. So ஒரு இடத்துல அந்த slide இருந்துட்டே தான் இருக்கும். So casing windows na it can be opened fully, and also it is using partially glazed glass on the windows. That means light will allow, but to a large extent heat can be cut down. So light will be allowed, but heat can be cut down. So lightum varum, heatum korayum. So this, under the Smart Gut project, whatever houses have been designed, they've been able to cut down temperature by 5 degrees. So outside ko inside ko and the amount of heat reduction has been possible. So which itself can help to help people, live in a cooler atmosphere, and it'll help to cut down the usage of electronic appliances. Now that, and so this is about, so best practice in Solomon. If you want to write, you can write this example. Okay. So this is about the, green buildings and sustainable housing under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So this is what this author has mentioned. And also, she also says that in all buildings, rainwater harvesting can be promoted, rooftop solar can be promoted. So these are also some sustainable practices. Yes. And in this, what is this? Yeah, question, mains question regarding this. What should be the priorities? What should be the priorities of India as it looks to promote housing for all. Okay. How can this objective be balanced with environmental concerns? So this is the question. Okay, so you can write in this regard. And so this is with respect to this editorial. And next editorial is with respect to this forest definition and man-animal conflict. So both are related to environment. So so this editorial, it was based on two incidents of death. Okay, so two death incidents which happened in Wayanad. So elephants were responsible for the death. So one farmer was killed. That was one incident, and one more was elephant killed a local tourist guide. So the two incident, and very often we have these instances where elephants and men are in conflict. Elephants and humans are in conflict, in fact. So in the problem வந்து ரொம்ப frequent-ஆவே இருந்துட்டு இருக்கு. So we'll talk about that. So this author has given his suggestions on what can be done. Okay. So these are useful suggestions, and man-animal conflict is an important question. So main straight away update கூட question கேட்பாங்க. You can very well use the points that we discuss here. Okay. So according to a report by WTA, WTA stands for Wildlife Trust of India. Wildlife Trust of India. So they have given a passage, they have given a report named as Right of Passage, Elephant Corridors of India. Okay, so they've given a report titled Right of Passage, Elephant Corridors of India. And according to this, 88 corridors were identified in 2005. In 2005, 88 corridors were identified in 2005. Okay, so but 20 years later, this author says that there has been a significant decline in the number of elephant corridors. So 2005, 88 corridors were identified, and these corridors were identified in forests, tea estates, agricultural fields, settlement regions, okay, so in all these places, corridors were identified. So 20 years back, these many corridors were identified, but now there has been a significant decline in the number of corridors. And this author says that the reason is because of increasing population pressure. So in the author என்ன சொல்றாருன்னா agricultural productivity is going down. He's saying and agriculture productivity is going down because of practices related to monoculture. Monoculture means same crop திரும்ப திரும்ப வளர்க்கிறது. So monoculture-னால agricultural productivity is going down, and he's also attributing it to the use of increased use of insecticides and pesticides. So the மாதிரி productivity go down வந்து குறையும் போது people are involving in more and more of deforestation to bring fresh patch of land under agriculture. So that is destroying forests அப்படின்ட்டு இந்த author சொல்றாரு. That is one thing which he has given. And other reasons which he attributes for decline in forest cover are, he says development is leading to habitat fragmentation. Development is leading to habitat fragmentation. And he has also given reasons like forest fires, planting of invasive species in forest. So invasive species, when we are planting, it will actually destroy the natural ecosystem. Invasive species, natural ecosystem will be damaged to a great extent. Okay, And this person is saying that because of the destruction of the natural ecosystem, there is decline in food and water availability in forest. And this, he is saying, it is leading to evacuation of animals from the forest. அவர் சொல்றாரு இந்த ப்ராசஸ்னால அனிமல்ஸ் வந்து ஃபாரஸ்ட் விட்டு வெளியேறுது அப்படின்ட்டு he has actually given a few points. And he has also spoken about increased human presence in the name of eco-tourism. So eco-tourism அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு people are going into this pristine, pure ecological environments and causing a lot of damage, lot of changes அப்படின்னு சொல்றாரு. And also he has mentioned about revenge tourism post-COVID, where in many areas there has been an increase in tourist footfall. So post-COVID வந்து நிறைய இடத்துல tourist footfall வந்து increase ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு. And this has happened after COVID. He has mentioned that. So human presence வந்து ஒரு இடத்துல அதிகமாகும் போது the wildlife habitat there is disturbed, and it can also disturb the ecological so it leads to ecological fragility. Okay, so as a result lot of conflict is happening அப்படின்ட்டு இந்த ஆத்தர் வந்து சொல்லியிருக்கிறாரு. And yes, so and ecological fragility, and you can also say eco degradation. Okay, and in this regard the author has mentioned about some of the steps taken and the steps that can be taken. So okay, there is something called as Operation Jumbo. So this was facilitated by Kerala, okay, because the incident happened in Wayanad. So அவங்க வந்து Operation Jumbo facilitate பண்ணி they captured 9 elephants, and 2 elephants were the elephants were fitted with radio collars to monitor the movements. But he is saying that despite the elephants being captured and despite radio collars being put on the elephants, the movement is not being monitored properly, like that this person is saying. He's saying அது வந்து ப்ராப்பரா மானிட்டர் பண்ணணும் அப்படின்ட்டு. You can maybe say more of forest related officials, forest guards, ground personnel, இந்த மாதிரி இந்த ஒர்க் ஃபோர்ஸ்லாம் இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் ஜாஸ்தி பண்ணா வைல்ட் லைஃபை மானிட்டர் பண்ண ஈஸியா இருக்கும். லைக் தட் யூ கேன் கிவ் அ சஜஷன். And also this author has demanded for steps taken or to be taken. Okay, so he has given both. So இது வந்து steps taken ல வருது, and he has called for coordination between forest revenue and tourism department. Okay, this author has called for coordination between forest revenue and tourism department to address the increasing ecological fragility. So he is saying that ecology and ecosystem is getting damaged. So அதை வந்து சரி பண்ண, அதை அட்ரஸ் பண்ண வந்து இந்த 3 டிபார்ட்மெண்ட்ஸும் கலந்து ஒர்க் பண்ணணும். கோஆர்டினேஷன் ஃபேவர், லைக் தட் he has mentioned. And also he is asking for rapid response teams. Okay, rapid response teams by Karnataka, Kerala, TN. So all these 3 states should coordinate and make something called as rapid response teams, because in the elephant corridors வந்து it runs between the states, and these elephants are actually in movement between these 3 states. So எல்லா இடத்துலயும் அந்த elephants சுத்திட்டு இருக்கிறதுனால இந்த 3 ஸ்டேட்ஸும் சேர்ந்து கோஆர்டினேட் பண்ணி rapid response team ஃபார்ம் பண்ணணும். ஓகே, அப்படின்ட்டு வந்து இவர் சொல்லியிருக்கிறாரு. ஸோ தட் இந்த மாதிரி ஈஸியா மானிட்டர் பண்ணலாம். 3 ஸ்டேட்ஸும் வந்து they can exchange data, they can discuss what they're doing. So அதெல்லாம் வந்து அவங்க சேர்ந்து பண்ணா இன்னும் பெட்டரா இருக்கும் அப்படின்ட்டு he has mentioned. And also he has called for a statutory body under he has called for a statutory body under MOEFCC to monitor man-animal conflict. To monitor man-animal conflict and to facilitate interstate coordination. Okay, for with interstate coordination, he is saying there should be a to facilitate interstate coordination. He is calling for a statutory body under MOEFCC, and also he has called for implementing FCA. FCA is the Forest Conservation Act. Okay, with prior informed consent. So what he means by this is whenever forest is diverted for any other activity. Okay, so பிரச்சனை வந்து அங்கதான் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகுது. Elephants are coming into the human settlements because they do not have place in the forest. Forests are not there. Forest வந்து cut பண்ணிருக்கோம். So அங்கதான் பிரச்சனை ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகுது. So he says that this forest conservation should be a priority. So even if we are doing some sort of a diversion, it should be with prior informed consent. You should talk to the stakeholders, engage. So என்னென்ன பிரச்சனை வருங்கிறத வந்து முதல்ல வந்து என்விஷன் பண்ணி அதை என்னன்னு பார்த்துட்டு you should accordingly take steps to prevent any threats that may rise. Yeah, so this is about this man-animal conflict, and so one editorial was there on that, so I wanted to mention this. And next we'll be discussing about this Supreme Court definition on forest cover. Okay, Supreme Court. Okay, so based on many writ petitions filed, Supreme Court has quashed the definition of forest given under Section 1A of the Forest Conservation Act. Section 1A of Forest Conservation Act 2023. So Forest Conservation Act was actually amended in 2023. அதுக்கு முன்னாடி the 1980 version was there. So that was amended in 2023. So under that, what government said was, so recorded as forest na government records la வந்து சில ஏரியாஸ் வந்து ஃபாரஸ்ட் அப்படின்ட்டு ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்ணி ரெவன்யூ ரெக்கார்ட்ஸ்ல வந்து இருக்கும், கவர்மெண்ட் ரெக்கார்ட்ஸ்ல இருக்கும். பட் கவர்மெண்ட் ரெக்கார்ட்ஸ் இல்லாம சில ஃபாரஸ்ட் இருக்கும். கவர்மெண்ட்ல ரெக்கார்ட்ஸ்ல வந்து ஃபாரஸ்ட்னு இருக்காது, பட் அங்க வந்து ட்ரீ கவர் இருக்கும். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி சம் ட்ரீ கவர் அண்ட் கிரீன் பேச்சஸ் ஆர் தேர் ஆல் ஓவர் த கண்ட்ரி. Those kind of things, those tree cover and green patches, they are actually called as deemed forest. Okay, so in the deemed forest concept எப்போ வந்துச்சுன்னா, it came about expert. So Supreme Court actually asked states to make expert committees to identify these kind of green forest, I mean tree covered and green patches. இது எப்போ அவங்க சொன்னாங்கன்னா in 1996 TN okay, so Supreme Court in 1996 in this TN Godavarman case அவங்க என்ன சொல்லியிருந்தாங்கன்னா, ஒரு piece of land, it is not that it has to be recorded as forest in the revenue records. அப்படி இருந்தா மட்டும் forest இல்ல, any green patch, okay, அது ஒரு forest area தவிர எங்கேயாவது green patch இருக்கலாம், tree cover இருக்கலாம், that is also forest cover. Like that Supreme Court had remarked in this TN Godavarman case. So எல்லா ஸ்டேட்ஸ்லயுமே அந்த மாதிரி green patches and tree cover இருக்கும். And in that regard Supreme Court had asked states to form expert committees to identify these deemed forests. So இப்படி committee form பண்ணி நீங்க identify பண்ணுங்க அப்படின்ட்டு Supreme Court வந்து gave the directive, but not all states did it. The states actually didn't do it. They didn't, only few states identified, most of the states didn't do it. Okay, so this was the scenario, and after that this act also was there. Okay, FCA 1980 was there, so adla வந்து some recorded forests were there. So recorded forest illama some states were having these deemed forests because some had identified. So based on this, what happened was these were protected areas. So if diversion had to happen, if these so in the mari identify panni vacha forest, that is recorded forest and deemed forest, சில states deemed forest identify பண்ணிருக்காங்களா. So in that case, for forest diversion, yeah, states had to get consent of FAC. FAC means Forest Advisory Committee. FAC means Forest Advisory Committee. Okay, so Forest Advisory Committee oda consent இருந்தா மட்டும் தான் states ஆல வந்து you know, they would be able to divert it for non-forest uses. So this was the scenario, but now under FCA 2023 section 1A, center என்ன சொல்லிட்டாங்கன்னா, only those forests which are recorded as forest in the revenue records, அந்த மாதிரி இதுதான் forest, it cannot be diverted, but other green patches and tree cover they can be cut down அப்படின்ட்டு சொல்லி வந்து the Supreme Court gave the verdict. And according to statistics, 1% in country are deemed forest. So out of all the forests that exist in India, 1% area is deemed forest, and this is an area comprising of 1.99 lakh kilometer square. So these many kilometer squares of forest area is in deemed forest category. Abdina, it is not classified as forest in the revenue records of the state. So according to FCA 2023, this much area of green cover can easily be diverted for any purpose. அதுக்கு எந்த கிளியரன்ஸும் தேவையில்ல, FAC approval தேவையில்ல, எதுவும் தேவையில்ல. It can be just like that, trees can be cut down and alternate use can be facilitated. So in the issue இருந்ததுனால lot of environmental activists were fighting against this FCA 2023 definition of forest cover. So Supreme Court இப்போ என்ன சொல்லிட்டாங்கன்னா, so அதாவது கவர்மெண்ட் வந்து இந்த செக்ஷன் 1A கொடுத்தாங்கல்ல, deemed forest வெளியே வச்சுட்டு they gave a definition of forest cover. So Supreme Court said that will not stand. They said we gave a verdict in TN Godavarman case in 1996. We said deemed forest to forest தான், அதுக்கும் வந்து prior approval and sanctions எல்லாம் தேவை if you have to divert the forest land. So you have to stick to that only, like that Supreme Court has mentioned. Okay, so this is basically a boost to environmental protection. Okay, and it also helps India to achieve its goal of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon sink by 2030. So this goal we have given in Panchamitra. India has something called as Panchamitra goals. This is one of our targets, and we also intend to achieve carbon neutrality by 2070. So all this is part of Panchamitra goals. Okay, so Panchamitra goals வந்து இதெல்லாம் facilitate பண்ணுது. So Supreme Court directive of protecting deemed forests will help us to achieve this goal, like that you can write. And coming to this Forest Conservation Act of if you look at the provisions of the FCA, 2023. This is an important act. So you have to know some key provisions. Okay, so it applies to recorded forest, private forests, and plantations. Okay, so this act applies to all these things: recorded forest, private forest, and plantations. And under this, center has power to de-reserve any forest. So earlier, states had more power, but under Forest Conservation Act, more power has been given to center, and central government even has the power to de-reserve a forest. So under recorded forest, we have two categories: reserved forest and protected forest. Two categories are there. Reserved forest na it's highly protected. Common people உள்ளவே போக விட மாட்டாங்க. Protected forest na the trees will be there, but people can go in for grazing, small amount of firewood collection, அந்த மாதிரி activities எல்லாம் பண்ணலாம். So இப்போ சென்ட்ரல் கவர்மெண்ட் என்ன பண்ண முடியும்னா they can actually de-reserve any forest. ஏதாவது ஒரு reserved forest எடுத்துட்டு they can say that patch of land is not forest அப்படின்னு சொல்லி they can divert it for developmental activities. So this was given under FCA. And for 100 kilometer from borders, clearance for strategic projects. So 100 kilometer from borders வந்து center has given clearance for strategic projects. Example, highways, dams, these kind of things. Bridges. Okay, so 100 kilometers. So 100 kilometers க்கு allow பண்றாங்க. Center என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா, what the center's point of view to justify this is that they are saying it will promote livelihood opportunities for people near the border. அப்படின்னு center சொல்லி justify பண்றாங்க. And they are also saying that this is important for national security. So அவங்க ரெண்டு reasons கொடுக்குறாங்க. Center has, so if they, when you're asked to critically analyze, you should give positive and negative. So you should say national security will get a boost and also livelihood opportunities for the people near the border. So that you can say. And the other thing is that, yeah, private players, they can grow plantation, etc. Plantation and orchards. So this thing, these plantations and orchards that they're growing, it can be used for facilitating compensatory afforestation. So ஏதாவது இடத்துல வந்து forest வந்து cut down ஆச்சுன்னா there is a compensatory afforestation norm in the country. So ஒரு இடத்துல cut பண்ணா forest வந்து இன்னொரு இடத்துல we have to grow another patch. So instead of growing another patch, some private players will be growing plantations and orchards, no? So the companies can actually purchase that and say that it has been compensated. Okay, that is the thing. So central government justifies this saying that this will motivate more people to grow plantations and orchards, which will increase the green cover in the country. And government says idinala 2.5 billion to 3 billion tons of carbon sink will be created அப்படின்னு அவங்க சொல்றாங்க. ஏன்னா compensatory afforestation, obviously that company is going to give revenue. So இந்த people வந்து அவங்க வளர்த்த plantations வந்து வித்துட்டா they will get money. So it will motivate more people to grow, like that the center is saying. So this they have mentioned. And also no consent of tribal gram sabhas. So earlier, if forest land had to be diverted, tribal gram sabhas had to be consulted. But now no consent of tribal gram sabhas before diversion. Okay, and also, so this is a matter of concern because it affects the rights of the indigenous community. So adu sollala. And also you can mention this center is also trying to promote zoos, ecotourism, safaris. So center is trying to promote these kind of things, and these will not be so these will be considered as forestry activities only. So if they're considered as forestry activities, clearance can be easily obtained. Yeah, and also in forest, establishing of checkposts, fire lines, this has been allowed. So these will also be considered as a critical infrastructure. So இதுக்கு வந்து earlier these kind of things recognize and survey. So all this will be considered as forestry activity. So earlier இதுக்கெல்லாம் வந்து இதெல்லாம் கூட allow பண்ணாம இருந்தாங்க. Now all this is being allowed. And center also in this act they mentioned that the forest conservation and this non-diversion will apply only to recorded forest and not deemed forest, that I already told you. And these are the other provisions. Okay, so if at all in the exam if you're asked to analyze and all that, you can mention what are the benefits. So national securities or no, livelihood opportunities or no, and even in zoos, ecotourism and safari, you can say livelihood opportunities. Local guides will get jobs, and it'll promote environmental awareness. So எல்லா மக்களுக்கும் வந்து ecotourism மேல environmental awareness வரும். So they will look at preserving and conserving the ecosystem protection பத்தி அவங்க யோசிப்பாங்க. So those kind of positive things you can say. And you can also say checkpost is also important. So smuggling and those kind of activities அதெல்லாம் வந்து ஃபாரஸ்ட்ல வந்து prevent பண்ணலாம். And fire linesனா அது எப்படின்னா in the forest patch சில இடத்துல வந்து கிளியர் பண்ணி வச்சிருப்பாங்க. So they will make small road or path where vehicles can move. So basically it is to prevent fire only. So the vehicles can move, fire engines can move, trucks can move. ஒரு ஃபயர் வந்து ஒரு இடத்துல வந்துச்சுன்னா இமீடியட்டா உள்ள அணைக்கிறதுக்கு வந்து ஃபோர்ஸஸ் வருது. So for that only fire lines. So you can actually give that in a positive way. So fire lines are needed in forest. Forest fires are increasing with climate change. So fire lines தேவை அப்படின்ட்டு சொல்லலாம். And communication lines are also being facilitated. So forestல வந்து connectivity issues இருக்கு. Forest guards ஆல communicate பண்ண முடியல, disasters avoid பண்ண முடியல. Even the people, even for the tribes living in forest, the connectivity issues can be connectivity and communication can be beneficial. Like that you give the positives also. But இதெல்லாத்தையும் சொல்லும் போது you also say these rules also pave way for diversion of forest அப்படிங்கிறதையும் வந்து நீங்க சொல்லணும். Because center has loosened the rules. So நிறைய இடத்துல strategic clearances, strategic infra, 100 kilometers from the borderland they've allowed for rampant cutting of trees. அதுக்கப்புறம் இந்த tribal areasல வந்து without PIC means prior informed consent. Without the prior informed consent of Gram Sabha, forest will be diverted. So this is a threat to the rights of indigenous communities. So like this you give both positives and negatives if you're asked about this act. Okay, so this is about forest conservation and all that. And the last one is Panchayati Raj as self-governing institution. So you can say so whenever you're writing these GS answers and all that, so acts, articles, இதெல்லாம் எழுதணும். So these things you'll be knowing. So this was facilitated or given constitutional status by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. And under that, this was given constitutional status. And also you can mention it has 29 subjects under its control. And it is under the 11th Under 11th schedule, it has 29 subjects or areas which are under its domain. So areas like agriculture, irrigation, land reforms, okay, water, roads, yes. So all these kinds, some 29 subjects are there. So all these things, markets, so all these are facilitated by, they have to be facilitated by Gram Sabha. So you can also say this was also in line with Gandhi's vision of Swaraj or village based governance, and it also facilitates the bottom to top approach. It facilitates bottom to top approach, and it is related to grassroots and participatory democracy. Okay, other subjects if you want, you can write forestry, watershed. Okay, these are some of the areas they work on. And in this regard, to make this institution more effective, in 2004, Ministry of Panchayati Raj was formed. In 2004, Ministry of Panchayati Raj was formed. Okay, but as of now, what is the problem means? According to an expert committee under Ministry of PRA, under own source of revenue, OSR means own source of revenue. Okay, own source of revenue. For Gram Panchayats is only 5%. Only 5% of the revenue that they generate is on their own source of revenue. And 80% are grants from center, and another 15% as grants from state. 80% are grants from center and another 15% is grants from state. Only 5% is own revenue, and only 1% revenue by taxation. So even in that own revenue that they generate, only 1% revenue is levied by taxation. Okay, so this author has pointed out the concern that these Panchayati Raj bodies are not having funds, and adliyum and the tax revenue is very, very meager, like that he has stated a thing. And in the grants and all that, when you talk about this, you can mention Article 280. Under that, Finance Commission. So they are giving the grants. Okay. Under Article 280, Central Finance Commission is giving grants. And under Article 243I, State Finance Commission is giving grants. Under Article 243I, State Finance Commission is giving grants. Yeah. And after that, you can also mention so this experts committee by this Ministry of Panchayati Raj, They have identified some possible own sources of revenue for the panchayati raj institutions. So அவங்க சொல்லியிருக்காங்க இந்த மாதிரி இடத்துலலாம் அவங்க டேப் பண்ணி own source of revenue எடுத்துக்கலான்ட்டு. So land and water taxes, cess for education, tax on advertisements, okay, tax on professions, tax on markets. See, a panchayat is a local government body, so it is panchayatoட core வந்து gram sabha. So gram sabhaல தான் decisions make பண்ணி they will only decide where and all to levy taxes. So they, if the people are actually willing and if they make a decision by consensus on anything, tax can be levied. And when the tax is levied, and this will actually be facilitated by state acts, state PRI acts. The state PRI acts will empower the gram sabhas and the intermediate panchayat and district panchayat to make the decisions. So on the power வந்து first வந்து state வந்து PRI acts வழியா கொடுத்துரும், and after that the gram sabha can make decisions and by consensus they can levy taxes. So these are some of the areas. Okay, and on okay, road tolls. So yeah, road tolls. Apart from this, stamp duties, cess on land revenue, yeah, stamp duties, road tolls. So these are some of the own source of revenue which has been identified by the expert committee. So on these areas, consensus can be built by Gram Sabha and accordingly taxes can be levied. Okay, yeah, and also you can say on fairs, you can also just add fairs, festivals, cattle registration, vehicle registration. So these areas also. Yeah. So this author, so can I change? So this author is saying actually that the freebie culture okay, freebie culture promoted by the central and state governments has led to an adverse attitude towards taxation. Okay, adverse attitude towards taxation. So in Panchayati Raj, there is this elected representative, Sarpanch, 5 people are elected under the irukla. So Gram Sabha is a common assembly, but elected people are there. So ultimately the decision for taxing or anything has to come from the elected people only. So when they decide to levy a tax, they are fearing that they will lose their chance to win election next time. So obviously people don't like to pay the taxes. So the elected representatives, they fear losing popularity. Okay, you can write that also. Elected reps fear loss of popularity if they levy taxes. Okay, so this person is saying freebie culture is the responsibility for all damage. And he is also saying that there is a need for public awareness on financial autonomy and self-sufficient of PRI to act as effective self-governance institution. So he is saying that if the Panchayati Raj has to act as an effective self-governance institution, there is a need for financial independence. So financial independence எப்போ வரும்னா only when so many taxes நம்ம போன இதுல பார்த்தோம்ல எவ்வளவு விதமான taxes போடலாம். So அந்த மாதிரி taxes வழியா only when the panchayat is able to generate revenue, only then it can meaningfully do something. But other generate revenue case scope இல்ல because elected representatives they fear that அவங்களோட vote வந்து போயிடும். So elected representatives ஓட attitude மாறணும், people ஓட attitude மாறணும். So there is a need for public awareness. So there is a need to educate the people on the importance of paying taxes, how it can improve their own lives, how it can improve the amenities and infrastructure in their village. அந்த மாதிரிலாம் people ட்ட போய் சொல்லி கொடுக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறது. And this author has also mentioned that tax revenue, okay, whatever tax, நம்ம வந்து we saw that 5% is own source of revenue and another another 80% is from center and 15 is from state. So in that also 89% revenue goes to gram panchayat. So maximum revenue generation எங்க நடக்குதுன்னா gram panchayatல தான் நடக்குது. But if you go to district panchayat, not district, before that we have intermediate, right? Intermediate panchayat, அங்க வந்து it is only 5% revenue generation. Okay, own revenue generation வந்து அந்த மொத்த பஞ்சாயத்து ராஜுக்கு ஒரு 5% own revenue னா அதுல வந்து 89% வந்து done by gram panchayat. District intermediate panchayat is doing only 5% and district panchayat is doing another 7%. So maximum scope or maximum revenue generation is coming from gram panchayat only, but இவங்களுக்குலாம் இன்னும் revenue இல்ல. So this author has called for, he has emphasized on equitable sharing. Equitable sharing. Yeah. And coming, so in the mari, this is the thing suggestion given by the author. So he has mentioned all these things and importance of the revenue. If you look at it, so these are actually, I already told you, it is bottom to top. Okay, so they can move away from one size fits all approach does not work. Okay, in governance, one size fits approach will not work. So over a village வந்து ஒரு local problem இருக்கும். So அதை வந்து locally solve பண்ணணும்னா the participatory governance of people is important. Participatory solutions are needed. So one size fit all இருக்கக்கூடாது, bottom to up governance தான் இருக்கணும். அதுக்கு first requisite is finance. And one more thing, one more area where gram sabhas did effective work was during COVID. During COVID, they ran isolation centers, medical camps, isolation centers, medical camps, and what is that? Community kitchens. They were serving food to people. Community by roping in women, SHGs, and they were also making these masks, sanitizers, these kind of things. Okay. And when migrants went back to village, so under PM Gram Rozgar Yojana, these Gram Sabhas had to identify work. So in the idla vandu 125 years per day per year, 125 days per year work vandu Gram Sabha had the responsibility to identify and give to the migrants who went back to village. So adum Gram Sabha பண்ணாங்க. Then Gram Sabha they ran isolation centers, medical camps, community kitchens. So இதெல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. So So all this is done based on local level governance. So participatory governance and all that. So Gram Sabhas are a very important institution, like that we can say. Okay. So for this, their financial autonomy and independence is important, like that you just mentioned. So this is about the Gram Sabhas. And yeah, one more statistics you just note down for use in Gram Sabha. Okay, utilization of finance commission grants between 2015 to 19. So it has been only 78%. Gram Sabha's utilization of finance commission grants between 2015 to 19 has been only 78%. So அவங்க சைட்லயும் இருக்கிற ப்ராப்ளம் சொல்லணும். Okay, so you can say these Gram Sabha reps, not Gram Sabha, Gram Panchayat elected representatives, they need training. So only when they have training, they can take up developmental works, socio-economic planning. So அவங்களுக்கு அந்த expertise இல்ல. Okay, training to boost their expertise. Only then that 78% very, அவங்களுக்கே ஃபண்ட்ஸ் பத்தல, அதுல கூட அவங்க 100% யூஸ் பண்ணல. So they are using only 78%. So that means the elected representatives are not having adequate caliber skills. They do not even have a strategy to use the funds. So you should train them and facilitate that fund use. So you can mention that. And apart from that, you can focus on, you can use key terms like when you're talking about this Panchayati Raj and all that, devolution, decentralization, the மாதிரிலாம் சொல்லலாம். So devolution na, states should give some of their financial powers, taxation powers, that they should grant to the local level bodies. Decentralization nalum adha. Okay. And you can also say that the political differences between the state government and the local government. So state government la or party irukum, local government la வந்து bodies la வந்து வேற parties இருக்கலாம். So அவங்க வந்து they should bury their political differences and they should coordinate and work together. Okay, so many times state ஏன் வந்து adequate funds கொடுக்கறது இல்லைன்னா, ஸ்டேட்ல ஒரு பார்ட்டி ரூல்ல இருக்கும், இந்த லோக்கல் பாடியில வந்து வேற ஒருத்தவங்க இருப்பாங்க. So இவங்க வந்து இவங்க செஞ்சதா இருக்கணும்னு நினைச்சு they will have all the funds and they will not give anything to the local bodies. So those political issues should be sorted out. So யார் என்ன இது இருந்தாலும் there should be a mechanism for fund sharing, financial devolution and all that. Okay. And the question in this regard, one minute. Yeah, or just write what are the avenues, mention the avenues for PRI to raise revenue. Mention the avenues for PRI to raise revenue. And okay, you write put a full stop there. After that, how does financial autonomy lead to meaningful self-governance? How does financial autonomy lead to meaningful self-governance? So this is with respect to it. So this is the question. Okay. So based on what we have discussed, you have points, right? So on the question you just have to structure it and write. Okay. So I think you'll be able to do it. So that's all for today. Okay. Thank you.